Hello everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel, and today I'm going to be showing you guys how to color anime hair. So first off, what you want to do is have line art to work off of, and underneath using a base color. I'm going to use brown because brown is one of the most generic base colors that you can add. And I'm gonna use the bucket tool first and then fill it in with any type of pen tool as long as it's 100% opacity so that there isn't any transparent pixels. The next step to do is think of where the light source is coming from. So for these three pieces of hair, the first light source is from the top right, the second light source is from the top left, and the bottom piece of hair has a light source coming from the bottom. Now, what we have to do next is actually color in the shadows. I am using a watercolor brush for this because for anime hair, a watercolor brush looks very good for shading in the shadows and the highlights. I usually like to work on one layer, which is just the base color layer, and add in my shadows because it is easier to blend in if you have that option. Now what I'm doing here is I'm blending the highlights with the fingertip tool. It's a type of blur brush. You can find it in the ClipstudioPaint default blur tool. And I'm just gonna shade it in a bit and then use the blend tool to blend it down because it looks really nice when you blend it down. The next step is coloring in the ambient occlusion. I usually use a pencil tool and I'll color in between where the hair splits or farthest away from the light source. Because this is a set of bangs, the bottom of the hair would be closest to the face. So I want to add a light color, like a light face color on the bottom of the hair. Don't forget to always color your line art because if you have black line art, then it looks very dull. You want to add more color to the line art. Usually I'll just use a darker shade of what I have been coloring or what the darkest shadow is. And then I'll usually lighten the tips of the hair because it's more transparent at the bottom. Because this is a very sharp light, I wanted to add a very sharp white light on the top right corner. If you want to know how to easily change the color of hair, there is a function in ClipstudioPaint called gradient maps. And if you look in the asset store, they actually have many different sets that you can import into your ClipstudioPaint as default sets. Now, when we move on to coloring straight cut bangs, there is a certain way to color bangs like these. Because the light source is coming from the top left, you'll want the light to curve down to the bottom right. So usually the harsh light would be closest to the light source, which would be the top left, but then it goes down at a curve almost because bangs are going over the face, so you want it to curve over the face. So we add the shadow on the very bottom right, and then the highlights on the very top left. Now what you can do is blend it in. You can blend using the just default blend tool in ClipstudioPaint, which is what I use to blend all of my anime hair because it is the easiest tool to use. And like what we did with the previous piece of hair, we add some skin tone to the bottom of it, and also the sharp light where the light is closest to the light source. Now with the previous set of hair that we did, we added ambient occlusion. Sometimes you can add a shade on the other side of a highlight just to give it more definition, especially if it's really glossy hair. And also because it is curved, there isn't just light at the very bottom, like where the skin would touch the base of the hair. There would be a little bit of bounce light, just like where that middle line is, because it is curved, and it gives the illusion of it being curved. Now we're moving on to the spiral hair on the bottom with the light source coming from the bottom. Now for this we just color in lighter closest to the light source like we've done with the previous drawings, and we make the shadows actually on the top. So what if you're like, Crimsy, how do I make this look sharper? Because I don't like the very soft style. Well, what you can do is when you're blending, you can actually set the brush hardness of the blend tool to sharper instead if you want a really crisp looking anime style. Now with pieces like this, if you want the hair to be more detailed, you just add more layers of shadow. If you want it to be less detailed, you take away layers of shadow or highlights. And that's pretty much how you color anime hair. It's fairly easy once you get the hang of it. If you have issues with, oh, my hand's really shaky, then I would use any type of stabilizer tool. In ClipstudioPaint, the brushes actually have settings that you can add, and stabilization is in those brush settings. It isn't a separate option like you would see in Paint Tool Sci. Anyways, thank you for watching my video. If you have any questions, please comment below, or you can find me on Twitter. You can DM me or message me there. And I hope this helped make your life a little bit more easier. I hope to do more tutorials like this in the future, so if you have any recommendations, please comment below, and I'll see you guys in the next video.